Hey everyone, it's Jason Del Rey here for our third session of our Code Commerce at Home series. Super excited about today's guest, whom I'll intro in a bit. First, I just want to thank our sponsor, Klarna, who helped facilitate this conversation, make it possible. They're the global payments company that makes buy now, pay later options possible for retailers online. Another thing I just want to stress for our first time guests is that while I will be doing a lot of the talking and question asking, we also want to hear from you. It's a huge part of our in-person conferences, audience questions, that is. And there's a way to do it here, which is a field at the bottom of your screen, I believe, where you can type in a question, tell us who you are, and I will try to get to as many of them as possible. I'm really excited for today's guest for a couple of reasons. First is, in the previous 2 weeks, we've heard from traditional brick and mortar retailer. We've heard from startup brand trying to navigate startup life in the midst of a pandemic. And today we have someone who runs one of the most important businesses at perhaps the most important e-commerce company, and increasingly in-person retailer as well in the world, and that is Amazon. Our guest today is Stephenie Landry, who runs grocery business worldwide at Amazon. Welcome, Stephenie.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Are you in an office right now?
I am in Amazon's corporate offices here in Seattle. We have really good social distancing and cleaning measures in place. I feel very safe to be here. Normally, I work at home. We wanted our connection to be really secure for this interview, meaning, making sure that we're staying wired into the internet. My home internet can be a little bit spotty with, school going on, remote school, and all the other things. So I'm in the office today just for you.
I feel very flattered. I also will note that if my kids run in the middle of this, it will be clear I'm not in an office. Before we jump in, you run global grocery business at Amazon. Can you just tell us what different businesses that entails so we have an idea of your overall purview?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been with Amazon for 17 years and I've done a variety of things with the company. But what I lead now is grocery on a worldwide basis. And when I say grocery, what I specifically mean is getting an order of what you would consider kind of your typical fresh grocery selection. So items that might be coming from a local store in the US, like Whole Foods, or if you were in the UK, Morrison's, or France, Monoprix, or Japan, Life. Or from one of our Amazon Fresh fulfillment centers. We deliver things fast, so definitely same day, and sometimes in as little as an hour, or somewhere between an hour and 4 hours is quite typical. And you get products that you might not be used to getting from Amazon, like eggs and milk and fresh produce and meat and seafood and all the things that you need to feed your family. So, fresh food delivered really fast is the scope of what I lead. In the US here, where I'm assuming a lot of your guests are from, if you've gotten a delivery from Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods, those are the businesses that I lead. Great.
And we're going to talk a lot about what it's been like to run a business like this during a pandemic, when a lot of people are in special need of your services. One just non-grocery related question to start. In the tech world, the antitrust report out of the House dropped yesterday. Great timing for you and me. And I spent a lot of time reading 450 pages yesterday. That's why I look like this under my eyes. Just quickly, did you read that report, and any thoughts on some of the allegations and concerns about Amazon's businesses?
I have not yet read the report. I have read some of the news. Amazon has issued a very detailed blog post in response to the report, and the folks that have read the report in detail have articulated their position super well on a blog that everyone can go access now. From my purview, I operate in grocery, super, super competitive and dynamic space where consumers have lots of options, and I spend most of my time really trying to innovate in that space. So. Disagree with the conclusions, and the blog post goes into great detail as to why.
Okay, at the end of this, I'll read it word for word. No, I'm kidding. So let's go back in time a bit. Thank you for that. There are better people who spend a lot of time discussing those issues that I will continue to talk to at Amazon about them. Let's go back in time to maybe February or March, as painful as that probably is for a lot of us. You see this spike in demand as stay-at-home closures hit. You run a global business, so I'm wondering what you saw abroad before the pandemic really hit the U.S. and what you tried to do to prepare as best as possible for your businesses.
Yeah, we're in this really weird time right now where time is both going super, super fast and super, super slow in some ways. So February seems like eons ago in a lot of ways. If I go back I'll even start slightly earlier. I'll start at the beginning of the year because probably lots of people on this presentation might not know this, but one of the big things that we did in the grocery business at Amazon is we made free grocery delivery a free benefit of Prime. Yeah. We did that in October 2019. That was a really big change for the business, super exciting, put us on a very strong growth trajectory. We were already on a very strong growth trajectory. That change increased our growth. We had prepared to have a lot of capacity to accommodate that growth. And we were heading into an excellent year, here in the US, starting in January, and looking at the results of some of the, years of work that we had put in prior to that. It was about mid-February, where we were doing a business review specifically on grocery. And we started getting questions specifically from, some of our colleagues in Asia and other areas about how we were thinking about the pandemic and pandemic preparation. And I have to admit, at that point, I did not have, this is probably early February, I did not have a lot of great answers. And so I started scribbling down on the back of the document that we were reading, totally not related to the actual content of the document. What would we do if there were a global pandemic? What are our colleagues in Asia seeing? Where are their potential supply chain constraints? What would consumers want from a demand perspective? How are consumers responding? And just took an action item to start researching and thinking about some of those issues. And, immediately got to work on that. And it was within about 2 to 3 weeks that, the first community transmission cases were found, and they were found here in Washington, which was, very much, ground zero for Amazon. And so our reaction was pretty swift. Our businesses immediately started experiencing a massive demand increase. And at the same time, we were deciding to, as a company, work from home. So there was just a lot going on at that time. And we did, recognize early that there would be some things that we would need to investigate and prepare for, but we did not understand how fast it would move, nor did anyone else really. So it was a very stressful and important time for us to mobilize as a team.
I know there were 1,000 things you had to do simultaneously, but what were the 1 or 2 big fixes or changes you needed to make in that early month or two to sort of solve for the crazy demand you started seeing in sort of the late winter, early spring?
Yeah. I mean, if you remember back, and again, it seems like forever ago, but if you remember back, there was a lot of panic buying that occurred of food because people just had a sense of instability. They didn't know what was going to happen. And so, there's estimates that say something like an additional $8 billion of food was purchased in March, versus prior years. And that is, dealing with that type of capacity increase is just, it's hard for any business. The biggest thing that we really had to do more than anything else is, as my team was moving towards a work from home, format, I gathered everyone together, all the leaders that report directly to me. And I said, look, all the plans that we have for this year, all the things that we're trying to do, as of now, they're off the table. We now have 3 goals, and everyone in this entire organization that works for me is going to be focused on one of these 3 goals. And if they're not, something's wrong, and they should know that something's wrong and come talk to you about it so that they can change what they're working on. And the 3 goals that we laid out were 1, employee and customer safety. Obviously, with the medical issue going on, ensuring customer and employee safety was goal number 1. The second was business continuity. So being able to actually make sure that the business that we had continued to operate and fulfill orders in the way that it normally had for customers. And the last was increasing online capacity. We knew immediately, based on the visits that we were getting into the storefront and people trying to find delivery slots that they weren't able to find, we knew we had to increase capacity. But we had to do it while also decreasing capacity in terms of social distancing within the places that we operate. Social distancing put a constraint on our operations because we had to keep people 6 feet apart from each other.
You're talking warehouses or Whole Food stores or both?
Yeah. All of the places that we deliver, just so people understand kind of how a delivery occurs. There are warehouses that deliver Amazon Fresh orders. They look like grocery stores, but they're inside more of a warehouse format. They're not designed to be open to customer foot traffic. We also deliver from Whole Food stores. Those are designed to be open to customers. So obviously there's a secondary layer of thinking about customer safety for the folks that are interacting with us and safety in the actual delivery process itself. But that reduced our capacity significantly. Our safety response reduced our capacity. And so our third objective was to increase online capacity as much as possible. And we were able to do so by over 160%. But that was those three areas were our main focus and continue to still be our main focus to this day.
How much of the problems that customers ran into in terms of just like, there are many articles about, waiting up late to try to snag a slot or trying, like my household trying like 20 times a day. Yeah. Is that mainly a capacity, like how many people you have working for you problem, or is that a combined problem? And maybe you just outlined that and I missed it slightly. But yeah, because what I'm really curious about is, I don't know that we've ever gotten out of the first wave in this country, honestly, but like as we head into winter and we likely will see cases rise, like what you've done to prepare for that.
Yeah, it's not a single factor. Just to kind of give some context, this business that we run in grocery does do sort of local same day delivery. And so we kind of feel any issue that occurs, we feel it really fast because we're operating on such short time frames. And so we're very used to dealing with things like, tornadoes, big game days, parades, presidential visit, all sorts of things that cause us to have a nimble response. What was different about the pandemic for us is that it was everywhere, all at the same time worldwide. That is a very different situation than we're typically used to dealing with. So a lot of our systems were designed to really respond to sort of acute problems in acute areas, and the sort of widespread nature of what was going on was pretty new for us. And so we had a lot of fronts that we had to operate on, making sure that our technical systems were prepared for the increase in just pure raw traffic to the site itself. Labor was huge. All businesses depend on forecasting, so making sure that your forecast is what sets how many people you have actually working for you. Those are the people that are picking the produce in the store, serving customers in store, as well as the delivery personnel who are actually bringing the products to the customers' doors. And then also think about social distancing. So we were very aggressive. Our first priority, as I said, was employee and customer safety. So we're very, very aggressive with things like capacity limits within Whole Food stores, really firmly making sure that anyone who's employed is masked, wearing protective equipment, and staying 6 feet apart. All of those have impacted our ability to deliver and to deliver at the capacity that we were expecting to. And so we had to build back very, very fast along all fronts, technical, product, labor, and then supply chain crunches. As the pandemic went on, we started seeing, areas of the supply chain that became overtaxed because just the predictions that those companies had for their products were just completely wrong based on the incredible change in consumer preferences.
One thing I just want to make clear to viewers, when it comes to the workforce that handles deliveries for your various grocery businesses, can you describe sort of, is that almost all Amazon Flex delivery people who are contractors who are picking and choosing, days and days to work, or is it a mix of employees? What does that look like for you now?
We do have a wide range of employees that work in the overall sort of grocery system. So delivery personnel, as you said, Amazon Flex, that's kind of a choose your own schedule, make your deliveries as an independent contractor. That is a large part of our sort of last mile workforce between either the grocery store and the customer, or the grocery fulfillment center and the customer. But we have actually a pretty large variety of ways that we operate, especially if you expand out to worldwide. So there's a mix of different types of employees who are helping to deliver your groceries.
Got it. So looking ahead a bit, again, I'm not wishing horizon cases anywhere in the world, but assuming we do see some of that in cold areas of the U.S. Or any parts of the U.S., what can both customers expect to look differently if demand shoots up again in the next few months during winter time? And then I'm also curious after that, what can I wonder if what your delivery partners can expect that might look different in the way of safety measures or other types of help for them in sort of a potential next wave versus what customers and delivery partners experienced maybe in the early months of this.
Yeah, the fronts that I just talked about, kind of the product and technology being one, kind of labor and prediction of sort of peaks and what we're going to need is another. And all the preparation work that we've done over the last few months from a safety protocols perspective is going to continue on as we look forward. None of us know what is going to happen in the fall, and so we're prepared for a wide range of scenarios. One thing that if I could have a magic wand and do over the early part of the pandemic, a feature that I wish that we had right out from the bat is a way for when we run out of capacity, meaning, we've booked out 3 or 4 days, every single slot. We don't have a view into, when the next slot is. We want to give customers an equitable and fair way to reserve a place in line, because what happened is that consumers were sort of scrambling for a delivery slot. And that was just an unfortunate situation that we didn't want customers to get into. And so we've actually invented something that we've used in the UK and we used in San Jose for a little bit. By the time we had developed it, the sales had sort of become stable and our capacity had increased. But we actually have a new feature that allows people to reserve a place in line so that they know when they can secure a shopping window, and gives customers a little bit more of a tool to plan for. So that's one technical innovation.
So is that something that's people can see today, but maybe aren't because because it's not needed yet? Or
exactly, yeah. We only do it when we can't offer people capacity, and we've been able to offer people capacity broadly for several months now. So if you go and you shop at either Amazon Fresh or Whole Foods, you're going to be able to find, it's statistically likely you should be able to find a same day slot. If you can't find a same day slot, you're going to be able to find next day or the day after. But if we have a massive peak from where we are today, a new peak up, what we don't want is for customers to just arrive at a screen where they don't know when their next slot is, or they go through the entire shopping experience and they can't complete it. And so what would happen if we had one of those big demand increases is that we'll give customers a time slot, say like, hey, we don't have it now, but on X date, you can come back and shop. You're going to have 2 hours to complete your order and choose a slot at that time. And so it'll create a lot more equity in distributing sort of the available capacity that we have, and it'll give us time operationally to work on increasing that capacity.
So not reserving a delivery window, but reserving a shopping window, correct?
Reserving a shopping window in a case of extreme capacity outage. And again, this might not happen at a national level. It might happen in a more constrained area. Yeah. So it doesn't have to apply to every single area that we operate in. We can do it in a more narrow area, which is what we're kind of expecting. We're expecting that we'll see strong rises in interest in online delivery for various reasons: cold and flu season, weather issues. People like online delivery when the weather is not great. And certainly we hope that we're not going to see spikes in the pandemic, but we're prepared if that happens as well.
Got it. I think you might have had a second point that I interrupted you on, but we can keep going if
I don't remember. If you don't remember, okay. I don't remember. So.
I could make it up, but I don't think that'd be good for anyone. Yeah. So, a lot of the question in the e-commerce industry has been how much how much of the new normal that we experienced during the pandemic in the way of consumer shopping behavior sticks and how much goes back to normal. I'm sure you think about that a lot as it pertains to your businesses. I don't know if you have any data you can share or just other sort of, framing that helps us understand, like, how many people that never before shopped online for fresh grocery are now like permanently in that cycle, or just how you think about trying to, figure that out.
Yeah. Again, no, that is a 64, maybe $1 billion. It's a huge question. People definitely want to know the answer to that. We're all interested to see how things pan out. But what I can say is, online delivery as a portion of grocery in the US was very small in previous years. It was a growing and important business, but still statistically very small. Some estimates put it at lower than 2 or 3%. And what we know now is that the pandemic has catapulted interest and engagement with online delivery. We publicly released our Q2 results, over 300% year-over-year growth, Q2 to Q2 of, a large and already growing business.
Is that a lot? I think that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. It's a lot if your business is fairly large, and we had a large and growing online business. So yes, that's definitely huge. And I believe that consumers are not going to be an online shopper or a store shopper. That is not the way, particularly grocery and food works. I think that people are going to use on different occasions online options, and in other occasions, they're going to use physical store options. And so what we really want to do is create a great experience, regardless of whether or not you're in the store or online. But frankly, the increase in trial and usage of online has shown a lot of customers who maybe, for various reasons, like they had a routine, or they, everyone's so particular about food and their routines around food, they can be hard to change. And what the pandemic did was cause a lot of people to change their routines. And I think a lot of people are going to appreciate the value and convenience of online delivery. And I have to imagine there will be some permanent changes because of that, just by getting people interested in trying.
You talked about wanting, a great experience, whether in store or online for your customers. There's both anecdotal, and reported in the news cases where, some Whole Foods customers feel like the shopping experience in store has degraded because of delivery people coming in and doing their job and pulling inventory off of shelves. I'm wondering how much of a problem you think that is. And what you're trying to do, if so, to solve for it. I know there's one example of a new, I think the company called it online only store in Brooklyn, which sounds like a small warehouse to me, but we could talk about that. How do you think, is there still a problem there that needs to be solved, and how are you thinking about solving it?
Yeah, I mean, we want to have a great shopping experience for all of our customers, and the great majority of shopping still happens in the physical world in grocery, like by miles. And so having a great shopping experience everywhere our customers are is super important to us. The online surge has created, a rapid response across all retailers to try to change their operations to be able to serve what customers want. The truth is that customers are demanding great online options. They want the convenience of being able to order from home and have a very swift, whether it be a pickup experience or a swift delivery experience. That is a huge priority. And so there's been a lot of focus on expanding that throughout the last year. From the physical store side, we want customers to have a remarkable physical stores experience as well. You mentioned sort of the Industry City store that we have that is meant to take on a lot more capacity. New York has, super, super strong demand for online orders. And so we've added some options that allow us to fulfill directly. We've had a lot of experience fulfilling from warehouses. We do that from Amazon Fresh in a lot of locations today. And that just gives us capacity that doesn't sort of impact the shopping experience. We don't have that ability to do that in every single place that we operate in. But we want everyone to have a great experience. So we pay a ton of attention to CSAT scores, how customers are rating our experience, and we're very responsive, and we try to be nimble in what we do. And
so is that sorry, the Industry City, Brooklyn, New York model, is that one we should expect to see broadly? And I'm curious, like, what your message to in-store Whole Food shoppers would be who feel like the experience is worse because of, delivery people coming in and doing their job and picking orders. So two-parter.
The industry city experience, it's fairly new, so we want to definitely see, how it's going and evaluate. It's not necessarily a model that we're going to replicate everywhere, but it's something that we want to learn about, and we want to see what the impact to the business overall is. So it's something that we're looking at closely, and I'm super enthusiastic about it and excited about it. In terms of all of our shoppers, I want you to have a great experience. My message to all shoppers, whether it be Whole Food shoppers, Amazon Fresh in-store shoppers, online shoppers, offline shoppers, online, offline shoppers, which is what most people actually are. We're working incredibly hard every day to give you a super safe, high quality experience, by having great selection, great prices, and a super convenient shopping experience that's enhanced by technology. And so my message is we're going to continue to focus on making sure we're doing it in all places, regardless of whether or not you're at home in your PJs or headed into the store in order to check out samples and talk to the cheesemonger and do all the things that people love about shopping in store.
I may or may not have PJ pants on right now, but no one can see them, so we'll never know. We have some viewer questions coming in. I just want to squeeze in one or two more, and then I'll turn there. I'm curious. Grocery is a hard business to make large profits on to begin with. Delivery is expensive. You've now pushed fresh grocery delivery into the Prime package, and not charging those same delivery fees anymore for Prime members. Can this model be sustainable outside of dense urban and suburban areas, looking out into rural areas? And if so, is one model, either the from warehouse delivery or the from store delivery, the better way long term to focus on when it comes to trying to build a sustainable, long-standing business?
Yeah. So, we're available in over 2,000, cities and towns. So we have a lot of coverage and we're able to offer this service to, a wide portion of the population today. But it's true that things get much harder when you go to significantly less dense, outside of suburban areas and outside of urban areas, and you're in more of a truly rural zone. The fact is that we don't have coverage in some of those areas today, and the model probably can't be exactly the same. The idea of having, 1 to 4 hour delivery of groceries in an area that doesn't have density, there will have to be some sort of changes as we continue to expand outward. It's a complicated business. It is very, very difficult. I tell my friends, every time you walk into a grocery store, you're walking into a miraculous place. If you go into a Whole Foods, you have 35,000 to 50,000 SKUs, multiple options. Some of them are open for 24 hours. You're likely to have some sort of a supermarket option within 2 miles. It's a very, very well-functioning industry that gives consumers historically low prices, really great redundant selection, and a pretty convenient experience. And so in order to make it better, which is what we're really focused on, you have to think differently and have a lot of innovations in the experience. And we're focused on making online a really, really great experience, but also making sure that the in-store experience becomes more innovative and supported by technology. And so we also spend a lot of time trying to invent on that side as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask two more quick ones, and then we'll turn to audience. One, you mentioned technology. What kind of automation advancements are whether robotics or other types of automation are you working on or employing right now, either in physical stores or in warehouses to sort of help on that, profitability and sustainability, financial sustainability part of the side of the equation?
Yeah, we're always researching every option we can to become, ever more efficient in our operations. A lot of that right now is actually software focused. So the software that actually directs the movements of people within the buildings, not necessarily so much hardware and robotics, although those are areas that we always are investigating and thinking about. A lot of the innovation that's happening right now, though, from a technology perspective in grocery is really on the front end of the grocery experience. We haven't talked about it yet, but one of the things that I lead is the physical storage side of Amazon Fresh. And we just launched recently, our first Amazon Fresh stores to customers in Woodland Hills.
So this has like bricks or some other physical component to it, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly the materials in the Woodland store, but yes, it's a store, just like you would walk into a grocery store. It's it is a grocery store, but it's super powered by technology. If you go into that store, you'll see a lot of things that are, as a consumer, that are different. One that is gotten a lot of attention from consumers and that I'm really excited about personally as a customer is something that we call the Dash Cart. It's actually a cart that's powered by computer vision technology. So as you're walking through the grocery aisles and picking up things like a can of soup and putting it into your cart where it's already pre-lined with bags, the cart itself is able to recognize the product that you've put in. If it's a product that is sold by weight, like green beans or something along those, the cart actually has sensors that allows you to weigh, and the cart has a screen that shows you the tally of all the products that you are purchasing. This is a huge consumer innovation, and it's something that we didn't know how customers were going to react to, and we've gotten a very, very positive reaction. And some a little bit surprising. The thing that people keep on loving about the Dash Cart is using it as a budgeting tool. They love actually seeing a running total of how much they've spent and being able to, not while they're at the actual checkout, but during the actual shopping experience, be able to make sort of in-store adjustments as they're shopping to be able to meet their budget goals. Obviously, we thought that was something that customers would use, but there's been an outsized positive reaction to that. And then the card itself, you just wheel it right out, and it works also as a payment recognition. So it is part of our kind of suite of just walk out technology. Allows you to just walk out of the store and be paid for the product.
One question on that I haven't been able to try it yet, maybe someday in the future, is I think it holds a certain, I think it's good for a certain amount of, maybe 2 bags of groceries or something like that. Obviously, during the pandemic, we're seeing data that people are doing fewer, larger store trips. And so I wonder if that's just like bad timing in terms of what that cart can support, or whether I'm possibly thinking about it wrong, which often happens with me.
No, the Dash Cart, obviously that's, we did a lot of R&D and design, and it was really designed, it's called Dash. It was designed for those frequent trips to the grocery store where you're getting, when we would contrast it to what we call a full shop. So there's stock ups and full shops, and then there's these fill-in trips that consumers do. This is a very sort of common way of shopping for groceries. And you're absolutely right. One of the effects of the pandemic that has been, challenging for everyone to deal with, or different for everyone, I should say, is that people have increased the size of their baskets tremendously. They want to sort of minimize their time in store, really be efficient with the time that they're spending out in the physical world. And so baskets have gotten bigger. Same thing with online deliveries. The baskets have gotten larger, which is different than the way people shop. So we do have a product. The Dash product was, designed really to make those fill-in trips really, really fast. But just like any other product, we look at the things we look at the consumer response, and we look at the things that have changed around us, and we continue to, evolve the things that we create. And so we'll see evolutions in that product. But even with just the smaller size, customers really love it. And you can actually get a fair amount of stuff in 2 to 3 bags of groceries. So it's not like a tiny. You've never seen me pack
a bag of groceries, but I'll take your word for it. I'm going to ask some viewer questions now. I'm going to actually there's a question from a Colin that is, what is Amazon's competitive advantage in grocery? And I actually just want to piggyback on that. Specifically, I'm interested in, when we saw Instacart, Walmart, which now has a Walmart Plus membership built around grocery delivery, and also Target with grocery delivery and pickup, all compete very well, I would say, or all grab a piece of the pie during the pandemic in grocery delivery. So what is as Colin is asking, what is your Amazon's competitive advantage in grocery when looking at those competitors specifically?
Yeah, well, first off, the way that I focus my own energy and my team's energy is to be completely obsessive over what customers want and deliver what.
I've heard that before at Amazon.
Yeah, it's because it's true, and it's really.
You pay attention though. You pay attention.
Of course.
pay. Yeah. Okay.
No, I would never say that I don't pay attention to what's going on around, both with consumer trends and experiences that they're enjoying and liking. Absolutely. That part of being obsessed with customers is knowing what's happening. But the end focus really is being obsessed with customers. In grocery, part of what is required in order to earn customers' trust in this area is a ton of consistency around quality. And so if you were to talk to my team, anytime in 2019, before kind of safety of customers, employees became our number one goal, the number one goal that I would drill into my team prior to that is we have to just up the quality of the delivery experience. We have to have a great quality experience. And so
what does that mean? What does that mean? Everything from what to what?
Yeah, there's we have seven different metrics that we sort of obsess on, but overall, we're trying to make sure that every time you order, you have a perfect experience. Not one thing is wrong. Lots of things can go wrong. We might deliver things early. We might deliver things late. We might miss a bag. We might miss an item. An item might get squished. There's a lot of things that could happen that can make people's trust in the system degrade if we don't deliver a perfect experience. And so we are really, really rigorous about making sure that our quality has gotten tremendously, and it has gotten tremendously better. And consumers, we track that through making sure that we give consumers the option to rate us every single time they shop, and we pay attention to those ratings. And if they have a bad experience, we try to remedy it immediately. And so I think quality, although kind of pedestrian, it really is one of the ways that we seek out to have, a great experience for customers that they come to trust and love. I would say that is probably where the bulk of our organizational effort goes. We want people to have a super consistent, high quality grocery experience. And I think that is something that makes us stand out and makes us a reason that customers keep on coming back to use our services.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Outside of that, I do think that sort of the broader Amazon ecosystem is also really interesting to customers. So, our Prime membership is not just a grocery delivery service. Our Prime grocery delivery is a part of a Prime membership, but there's so many things that come with that,
Yep.
Free 2-day delivery on millions and millions of items, access to really amazing content, whether it be, movies or music or Kindle content. It's a very expansive membership program that has lots and lots of great options associated with it. And grocery is just one of many. And so we like people feel like they're a part of a broader ecosystem that's serving a number of needs that they have. I think that's another way that we sort of stand out for customers and continue to develop our relationships with customers.
Should I take that specifically as a Walmart Plus comparison, where there's a couple extra perks, but mostly focused on grocery?
Honestly, I'm just talking, you asked me how do we stand out to customers? And the ways that we stand out to customers is by providing them with a great end-to-end experience and many of the problems that they face as a consumer. And I'm really focused on my part in that puzzle, which is giving them a super great high quality grocery experience. And innovating on the things that aren't working for customers. So how do I minimize your time in line if that's a frustrating experience? How do I make sure that shopping between online and physical stores is really pleasant? How do I give you other options of things that you can do in store that are useful? For example, making returns from Amazon. That's one of the services that we offer in all of our grocery stores, including Whole Foods and the Amazon Fresh store. And so those innovations make customers' lives better, and that's how we choose to stand out, and that's where all of our time, energy, and effort goes.
Great. We have a question that says, it appears you've determined winning in grocery requires physical stores plus digital channels. What's the customer insight that's driven this determination? And this is from a Jordan Burke, who I think was previously a longtime Walmart executive.
It is super clear that physical shopping is intensely important in the grocery space. People love shopping in physical stores. There are aspects of food that that having an in-person experience is really positive. And so I do think that there's obvious evidence that we care about this. Our acquisition of Whole Foods is probably the biggest from a financial one. And then our continuation to have lots more physical store experiences is also evidence that it's something that we care about and think is important to the overall shopping experience for customers. I will say, though, we really want to do things that we think are innovative. We don't just want to be in sort of physical store space for the purpose of being there. We want to provide something that's an alternative to customers that we think is really advancing the experience. And so, in Whole Foods, that means adding things like, free online delivery and pickup as part of your Prime membership, consistently lowering prices, allowing things like Amazon returns and, Prime member discounts, like trying to make a very sort of fluid experience as part of your Whole Foods transactions. Mm-hmm. And then on the Amazon Fresh side, a lot of the technology that we're developing is quite innovative and disruptive and trying to add to that physical store experience and solve some of the customer frustrations that exist today.
I know you've explained before to me, and I think just publicly, the reason for having an Amazon Fresh brand along with a Prime Now brand, and you may order from Whole Foods delivery for sort of a couple items at a time, while Amazon Fresh may be weekly or bi-weekly bigger orders. I'm wondering, should customers ever expect to sort of have one unified online grocery experience where without different shopping carts, where all the inventory behind the scenes goes out to where it needs to get delivered, but on the front end, it just feels like one Amazon grocery delivery experience, or maybe not, but that's my question.
We're going to continue to innovate on behalf of customers and try to create the absolute best experience that we can, whether it be online or offline. And exactly how that's going to play out, I honestly don't know today. It really is, taking 2 steps forward, seeing how things are working for customers and keeping on going. Right now, because of the speed of delivery, so the fact that we're doing same day deliveries, we are operating from places that are physically close to customers, and that does produce some amount of constraints. The reason that you can't buy half your products on Amazon Fresh and half on Whole Foods is because they're coming from different places, and sort of combining that inventory mid-flight is an operational challenge that's even more expensive than the one we already have, which is just getting the delivery together. So what I really expect to happen in this space is that customers are going to get more used to using the grocery services that we've offered, so whether it be Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods, and to really have a much more distinctive experience and to feel more immersed in the brand that they're in. If you go onto the app today and you shop Whole Foods or shop Amazon Fresh, and you sort of click onto the main header, you could enter into either store. You have a fairly immersive experience. It encourages you to buy a cart full of groceries that's different than typical Amazon. On Amazon, you're kind of finding the thing that you need and kind of getting in, getting out. For groceries, most people shop in a basket, and whether they be online or offline, they're kind of thinking about building something. Usually it's about 25 items or so. Sometimes it's much more, sometimes it's a little bit less, but on average 25 items. And that's just a different shopping experience. And in order to support that, we've tried to create kind of an immersive...
that's 25 on average online in
roughly in general. Yeah, for online orders, roughly in general, that's a good proxy for about how big a basket is.
Wow.
A little bit different lately with pandemic. This is more of that's more of a long-term historical estimate, but that changes a lot for individual customers. Some people are ordering 100 products, other people are ordering 2 or 3. It really depends on the shopping occasion. But on average, most people are ordering 25 or more products in order to fill a grocery basket. It's just a common size. And what we see is that in order to support that experience, we do need to have some innovations online that help orient people as to where they are, what brand they're participating with, and how to sort of achieve their goals of finding all the things that they want. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about all of the product features that sort of contribute to making that experience really great. We've had a lot of advancements over the past year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there are any breakthroughs for, one of the big, I still think it's going away for some people, but one of the big holdups to purchasing grocery online is I like to pick out my whatever, produce or meat or fish. And I'm wondering if that's just not something that digital can fully solve, or whether you've seen improvements or advancements that you think are real breakthroughs in solving for that problem that don't involve walking into an Amazon Fresh store or a Whole Foods store.
I think there's a segment of consumers that really it is a priority for them to physically interact with the purchases that they're making. And it's not likely that they're going to be 100% online shoppers. They may use it for, brands that they know or fill-in trips, or their usage of online might look a little bit different. But this is you are steeped in e-commerce, and this is the story we've heard about nearly every category of retail spend. Apparel is probably the most interesting example that's had a lot of changes over the last 10 years. 10 years ago, people were, I have to try it on. I have to touch and feel it. There's no way to get around this. What my own personal experience around online grocery is actually someone who professionally is shopping all day long. I may have trust in my own abilities, but when someone is professionally shopping on my behalf and their sort of top goal is the quality experience, they actually pick really great stuff for me. And once you experience that, that's where your trust is built. So a lot of this has to do with trial. And the folks that are coming up with, key grocery buyers are families, especially, families that are young families that are at home. Those consumers have really high expectations for their online experiences because it's native to their entire existence. There are people having families today who've never known a world without the internet. So they have high expectations and also a high willingness to try. And so some of it is just shifting in consumer preferences that is causing, natural shifts in people's willingness to participate in food online. The pandemic, as I said, has forced trial for a lot of people because they wanted to have a contactless option. Mm-hmm. And then just having actual consistent high quality experiences that sort of reinforces it. And I think that's a big factor in changing people's behavior around food buying. That said, I think that food buying is really pleasurable. You're always going to want to have these sort of, days of kind of Mrs. Dalloway getting your flowers and your things. I think that those are, I think that that's real. That's not going away. And we want to have amazing physical store experiences to be able to support those occasions. And they're going to be important for a very, very long time.
Great. I'm going to try to combine some of these audience questions where it makes sense. I have one question. I'll make this a two-parter from Lisa. Have you asked your food suppliers to rethink packaging, size of SKU, so warehouse size versus grocery size, or other innovations? And coupled with that, I saw a question about how do you envision CPGs evolving their product offerings and packaging as more consumers purchase online? I think those sort of dovetail together.
Yeah, it's a timely question too, because we've actually announced some things in this area. Maybe I'll take a bit of a step back. One of the big things that Amazon's been very supportive of is the climate friendly pledge, and so committing to Paris Accord agreements 10 years early. That's a broad a broad company goal, and my business in groceries do a number of things in order to ladder up to that goal. And trying to think about how to be ever more efficient in supporting the environment and the natural world is really important to us. And that translates into a lot of different actions. For example, just to, 100% recyclable, curbside recyclable packaging. That's something that we got a little bit delayed on due to COVID this past year, but we're rolling that out this year, which is, really great for our consumers want it. It's really important to them.
And that's for all and where will consumers see that on what type
for all grocery delivery?
Okay.
Yeah. And then we've committed to food waste reduction. We did it with the EPA. We're committing to a 50% food waste. This means anything we buy as a business that we're going to make sure that it goes to ideally human consumption, but if not human, animal consumption, and that we're not wasting food. And so those are huge goals. But one thing that is happening right now that is exactly in the area that you're talking about, which is around sort of packaging and packaging waste. We have a badging system on Amazon that you can look at. There's 20 different certifications that help people identify climate pledge friendly products. And one of them is called Compact by Design. And it's looking at products that have been minimized, that are denser and have been minimized so that it's taking up less space in a bag or a box, less carbon footprint overall. And there's just a lot of opportunities to continue to, that program is going to continue to grow. And so you'll be able to actually identify those items when you're shopping and help make choices based on, companies that have put a lot of effort into minimizing their packaging and reducing waste in general. So
sorry, that is highlighted to consumers online.
Yeah, you can go onto Amazon today and find there's several external certifications. I don't know all of them offhand, but they're, things like Rainforest Pledge and items like that are part of the program. But there's this one called Compact by Design, which is specifically around packaging and products that are denser and more friendly to ship from an efficiency perspective.
This is a labor-related question from Maura, which is, how does Amazon incentivize its contractors to execute against the obsessively high bar around customer experience while ensuring that contractors are well respected? And I think they're calling this the customer experience flywheel.
Yeah, I mean, every member of the entire chain of getting groceries from wherever they're coming from, whether it be one of our warehouses or a Whole Foods store, into customers' hands. Also, the team members that are working in store, all of the employees, care a lot about maintaining a positive work environment. And for Flex contractors, Flex is a great program. It allows people to choose their own hours. The wages that have been able to be earned through the program have been consistently really high. We do give lots of feedback to drivers. And so actually, if you were to go as a customer and place an order today, you can, there's like badges that you can give a driver, and you could tell them that it was packed really efficiently, or the driver was really friendly, or the driver was wearing a mask. Or if there's issues, if there's problems, we also get that feedback, and we're able to let people know, very close in real time, how they're doing, and make sure that they are, have incentives to continue to perform well. It's a great option for people who want to be able to choose and make their own schedules. We certainly have a wide range of other jobs available, full-time and part-time across grocery, but the Flex contractors allow people who don't want to have other people in their car, who only have a certain amount of time to work, to be able to earn high wages and participate in getting people the things that they need.
We have a question about tech advancements, which is around drone deliveries. I think the question, and I believe it was from a person named Forrest, was how soon will Amazon Prime Air, I believe that's drone delivery, be ready for grocery delivery? I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to it too. Figuring out drone delivery is not something that I'm an expert in. I don't have any detailed comments on it. It certainly, I support it as an exciting offering and something that I want us to continue working on it. I can't give any predictions on grocery delivery versus other deliveries. So I don't have any good updates in that space. But yeah, I'm going to be one of the first customers. I'll have my landing pad in my front yard, and I'll be excited to see the drones coming.
I think just maybe two more. One is, I know you don't so packaged foods that appear on Amazon.com, on the Amazon Marketplace, I don't believe fall under your fresh food purview, but I'm assuming experience that customers have on Amazon proper with packaged foods sort of give affect their perception of grocery overall. I'm wondering, in cases where people have bad experiences with packaged foods through Amazon proper, like expired foods or otherwise, there's been some reports about expired foods in the past, how you think about that, whether that's a problematic issues for your business or not, or whether that's completely separate and it's not something you think about when it comes to food quality and customer experience.
All of the leaders at Amazon that are running different businesses are very conscientious that the impact that we have on the customers that we're serving affects the opinion of Amazon or the Prime membership, the overall experience. So all of us are, as I said, my team is obsessed with delivering a quality experience, and in groceries, quality is very difficult because there's lots of opportunities to make mistakes. And so we're very rigorous about eliminating those mistakes and making sure we're consistently having a high quality experience. And I see that same commitment from my colleagues across the organization. So even in areas that I don't, personally lead, we're trying to get to the root of any issues that customers are having to resolve them quickly and well. And Amazon has been named as a very trusted company along those dimensions. Mm-hmm. So, when we find problems, we hope that it's rare and infrequent. And when we find them, we try to correct them swiftly and correct them at the root cause so they don't happen to customers again. That's really ingrained in our company culture. I've definitely seen it in my space with grocery, and yeah, that's we just try to make sure that everyone's having a great experience, no matter if they're watching a movie, reading a Kindle book, an AWS customer, or receiving a grocery delivery at their house in their PJs.
Got it. I think my last question actually has to do with sort of leadership and the time we're living in. I'm trying to ask a lot of the business leaders I'm talking to about this topic, and that is, obviously our country has gone through another reckoning around racial injustice over the last year. I'm wondering, when you look internally at your organization, amidst all this consumer-focused stuff you have to be, focused on, what you're doing to try to ensure that your business organization is both retaining and attracting talent for maybe underrepresented groups, sort of in the business world in general. I imagine it's something that you've been thinking about, and a bit amidst everything else going on right now. So I'm wondering if you have anything you could share on that front as a leader of a really important business internally at Amazon.
Yeah, this past year on so many different dimensions has been a challenge to be a positive leader. Oftentimes people are working from home, which is hard. The demands of family and the fear and the real impact around coronavirus, it's affected me personally. It's affected a lot of my colleagues personally. That creates stress. And then, the issues that have gone on with, systemic racial inequality, injustice, and violence, those are weighing extraordinarily heavily on, our communities of color and their families and everyone who's concerned about it. So this is something that it's just been a, quadruple whammy in terms of trying to be a positive leader and help people do their best during this time, while leading in an area where people really need our services more than ever. So it's been hard. It's been hard for everyone, from all the people that work in my organization and especially the people who are working on the front line serving customers. To specifically answer your question, I've been at Amazon a long time. I said, as we started the conversation, I've been here 17 years, and I was extremely supportive of the way that Amazon responded to, the events in late May, George Floyd's murder, and the swift public statement that Amazon made, publicly voicing support for the George Floyd Police Reform Project, raising over $27 million from both employees as well as Amazon's own donations to support, issues or organizations that are specifically thinking about racial equality is huge. And then a lot of inward thinking. For me as a leader, the first thing I did was make sure that all of my leaders were opening up conversations with their teams about how this is impacting them, which sounds small, but that's actually a really big deal, and it's a lot of people they've never talked about issues like this. I have leaders who aren't from America and don't necessarily understand all of the complexities behind the history of racism in this country. And then they're all of a sudden trying to lead, complicated conversations about this. And we asked them to do it because we thought it was important. And then really thinking about, what does the composition of our organization look like? We know that we're not doing well enough, and we've made a lot of advancements, and we're happy about those, but we have to keep on continuing to look inward. So that said, systemic racial injustice is not something that gets fixed overnight. And so this is going to be a long haul. And I see folks within the organization, and specifically within my organization, very focused on making changes. And I've seen some good advancements. My colleague, a lot of reports were recently made about, my colleague, Alicia Buller-Davis, who's amazing, joining the S team, which is our most senior leadership team. And she's the person that I've been on phone calls with 7 days a week since we started, the pandemic. That's what happened immediately is, the operations leadership team is on the phone, and she's been an incredible leader, and it's great to see her voice being elevated. And I think that that's going to be a strong impact for, as someone who I seek representation, I seek to both be a representative for various communities, and also I want to have leaders to look to. I'm happy that Amazon's improving in that dimension. We have a long way to go, but I've seen things going in the right direction, and it makes me pleased to be a part of the change.
Stephenie, it's been a pleasure. I know we've talked many times off screen and in live over the past, but I appreciate you making the time for this conversation. I imagine our viewers will have some of the same feedback. Speaking of feedback, I want it. I don't know if Stephenie wants it, but you can also find her on Twitter. But you could find me. You could find me. You could find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, email. I'm pretty much an open book. I wanted to just close by thanking our sponsor, Klarna. We have one more conversation next week. Maybe luckily for all of you, I am not the host. It is someone who actually is a business leader. It's Camilla Cho, who is the head of commerce at all of Vox Media, and she'll be interviewing Klarna's CEO in a sponsored conversation. Stephenie, thank you again. Thanks to all of you, and see you all soon in some form or another, hopefully. Bye-bye.